Hello, I'm Sarah from wowenglish.co.uk. I'm a qualified English teacher and I'm very experienced with IGCSE, IB and A-level English. Today the lesson is going to be all about IGCSE First Language Paper 1 summary writing. So let's get started. All of the materials for today's lesson can be found on wowenglish.co.uk. There's a link in the description of this video. Or if you are following along as part of a wider course, then you can find all of the worksheets and PowerPoints just in the lesson materials. So let's get going. Today's lesson, as I've said, is all about summary writing, which is part of question 1 on paper 1. And it's the second part of that question that you'll do after finishing your comprehension questions. Now I'm going to show you guys some images, and these images are all related to the text that we're going to read together. As you have a look at these images, you can pause the video and have a think about what do you see, think and wonder when you see these images. What words or phrases come to mind? What can you guess that the text might be about? Here's the first image. What do you see, think and wonder? Second image. The third image, where do you think this might be happening? What's the location? What's the context? Do you know the name of this animal? How might this image be related to the 4 previous images? The previous 4 all had animals in, right? But this is the first one that doesn't have an animal in it. So why have I chosen to include this image too? And finally, this image. How does that relate to the other images? What do you see, think and wonder when you combine all of these images together? So hopefully what you might have come up with is that those images were of woolly mammoths, which are extinct animals. Extinct means that they died and they're not with us anymore. The image of the DNA then might give you a hint that the article is scientific and it might be about the biological side of woolly mammoths. And the final image that's still on the screen is one of climate change. So how could that relate back to the images that you've seen? What do you see, think and wonder? All right, let's move on to reading that extract now. So as you read this extract, I want you to keep in mind these 2 questions, which are your exam questions. What made Lyuba such a remarkable and precious scientific specimen? And what did scientists hope to discover by studying her? I'm going to read the extract to you, but you can also find a copy of that in the link below in the description. Waking the Baby Mammoth. This text is a review of a television programme called Waking the Baby Mammoth. Only a handful have been found before, but none like her. Her name is Lyuba. A 1-month-old baby mammoth, she walked the tundra about 40,000 years ago, then died mysteriously. Discovered on a riverbank in Siberia, she is the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth ever discovered. Lyuba has mesmerised the scientific world with her arrival, creating headlines across the globe. Waking the Baby Mammoth, a new television programme, tells the tale of this single accidental discovery of a frozen baby mammoth in the Siberian tundra, and how the discovery has enriched our understanding of these extinct, magnificent beasts. The programme begins with the incredibly fortunate discovery of Lyuba by a reindeer herder who feared that disturbing the remains of the dead might lead to a curse. Too often with such findings, the preserved creature would be dug up and sold, leading to irreversible decomposition and the loss of a treasure trove of valuable information. However, the herder had enough foresight to contact the authorities, and scientists began the careful retrieval process. Everyone wanted to know how Lyuba had died. What could she tell us about life during the Ice Age and the Earth's changing climate? The programme follows the scientific process and the hurdles in understanding where Lyuba came from and what she can tell us about her Pleistocene life. That being said, apart from the specific experiments involving high-tech bone scans, tissue extraction and dental examinations, the programme does not delve too far into the intricate data. We are left wondering whether scientists will be able to extract her DNA and what secrets that might uncover. It's impossible to watch the work on Lyuba without sharing the anxiety the scientists must have felt to get it right. The programme succeeds brilliantly in bringing drama to quite an amazing story. We are presented with stunning 3D animations of Lyuba and her mother. In cinematic form, Lyuba is brought to life as an active furry baby mammoth, bouncing along next to scientists as they contemplate the frozen carcass's secrets. The visuals are beautiful. Light shines off the baby's fur and her shadows dance in just the right way to make her really come alive. The programme has truly woken the baby mammoth within our minds and hearts. Now that we have read the article, it's over to you to try to find the points. So for each of these 2 questions, there are 6 possible points that you could find. So a total of 12, 6 for each question. If you go into the worksheet, there is a space for you to make some notes. And I also do really recommend that you highlight the sheet too so that you can see where you think you got the answers from. So go back to that extract now and see if you can find the answers. Pause the video to challenge yourself and we'll go over the answers in just a second. Here are the answers for the first question. How many did you get right? So number 1, what made Lyuba such a remarkable and precious scientific specimen? Firstly, the fact that only a handful of mammoths have ever been found. That makes her quite rare. That she's the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth ever discovered. The fact that she was discovered by accident. That's quite remarkable, right? That the man who found her did not sell or disturb her remains, and again the article makes it clear that that was quite unusual. The fact that the scientists were able to carefully retrieve her, thus avoiding damage. And finally, she's also remarkable and precious because she remained frozen for so long. How many did you get correct out of those 6? If you got all 6 correct, great, give it a tick. If there were any that you missed off, make sure you make a note of those down in your worksheet so that you've got them in front of you for the task later on. The second lot of questions then. What were scientists hoping to discover by studying Lyuba? They were hoping to get a better understanding of woolly mammoths as a species. They were hoping to find out how she had died. They wanted to find out what life in the Ice Age or Pleistocene life was like. They were also hoping to find out more information about climate change. They wanted to find out where Lyuba came from, and they wanted to find out more about her DNA or woolly mammoth's DNA. There are the 6 points for the second part of the summary question. Go back to your worksheet. Once again, how many did you get right? Do you need to add any on that maybe you forgot or didn't quite catch when you first read it? Now that we have had a look at the answers to the text, it's time to think about, well, how do you actually write this summary up? Because it's not enough just to bullet point list the 12 points. A big part of this is writing a concise and precise summary where you are paraphrasing. What does paraphrasing mean? Paraphrasing means rewriting something using your own words. So in essence, you need to take a look at that extract, you need to find the relevant information, you need to rephrase it in your own words, and then you need to write it down in a logical, concise and clear order. And we're going to talk about some different ways to do that now. But before we do that, why don't you pause the video and have a think? How many different ways of paraphrasing do you already know? Now we're going to have a look at some different ways to paraphrase. And as we do this, there is a space in your worksheet for you to have a go at some of these exercises, as well as a summary of all of the main points that I make here. I would really like it if you could do the exercises. You learn by doing, not just by watching someone talk at you in a video exercise. So make sure that you whip out that worksheet and that you follow along as we do these. So the first method then, maybe the most obvious one, is to use synonyms. What is a synonym? It's a word that means the same thing. So for example, a synonym of the word funny might be hilarious. So you're thinking about what other words can I use that have got the same meaning? But my advice is don't use synonyms on nouns, because nouns tend to be words that if you think of a synonym, you're going to make it less precise or too vague, or maybe change the meaning too much, where you won't get the content mark anymore. So I recommend try to avoid using synonyms on nouns. For example, if the word was robin and you use the synonym of bird, well, you're going to lose the content point there, because a robin is a very specific type of bird, whereas a bird could be an eagle or a pigeon or a swan. So you've made it too general, and you've lost some of the precision of language there. So be careful with nouns. So as I've said in the slide here, be careful not to change the meaning too much or make the answer too general. Here's a quote that I took from the article. And on your worksheet now, I want you to try to paraphrase this using synonyms. Discovered on a riverbank in Siberia, she's the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth ever discovered. Pause the video now, try to do it on your worksheet, and then I'll show you an example of how I did it. So here's my example, and you can see that in the underlined words, those are the nouns that I've kept the same. I don't think that you can change those without making the answer too vague. So my example is, found on a riverbank in Siberia, Luba is the best conserved woolly mammoth that has ever been located. What words have I changed there? Well, I've changed discovered to found, conserved has replaced the word preserved, and discovered has been changed to located. But notice riverbank has stayed the same, Siberia has stayed the same, and woolly mammoth has stayed the same. You can't really think of a synonym for the word Siberia without completely changing the meaning, right? How close is your answer to mine? Is there anything that's similar? Is there anything that you've done differently? Is there anything that you think that you could improve now that you've seen my example? Now let's have a look at my second method of paraphrasing. This method is to remove unimportant words. In a summary, you're aiming to take a large amount of text and make it the shortest possible to keep the most precise meaning. And often when we write, we're putting in lots of extra words that sound good, but that actually don't have too much meaning. And those are the words that I would encourage you to take away when you write your summary. So you can often delete adverbs like really, truly, very, extremely. These words don't often add a lot of meaning and they can be taken out. So here's a quote from the original article. The programme succeeds brilliantly in bringing drama to quite an amazing story. Go onto your worksheet. How would you summarise this, paraphrase this, removing some of those unnecessary words? Which words are you going to take out? Pause now and have a go at it. And here's my example. The programme succeeds in dramatising this story. So I've got rid of the word brilliantly and I've got rid of the word quite. And we've kept the meaning the same, but we've made the sentence shorter. My next method then is to change the sentence order around. So can you flip around some of the words or ideas or clauses in the sentence? This is best to do if you're not really sure about the synonyms and you really, really want to be careful not to lose the marks, that you can just swap around the order of the sentence but keep the words basically the same. You're not going to get a top mark answer if you only do that. But if you're aiming for, a C or a B and you find summary writing really hard, then it is something that I would recommend. So you can keep the words the same, but just change around the order in the sentence. So here is a quote from the original article once again. On your worksheets, go on over and see if you can flip around this sentence order. The sentence is, Waking the Baby Mammoth, a new television programme, tells the tale of this single accidental discovery of a frozen baby mammoth in the Siberian tundra. If you're finding this really easy, then you can also try to use the two previous techniques. Can you use some synonyms and can you remove some of those useless filler words? Okay, pause the video now and have a go. And my example. The story of a chance discovery of a frozen mammoth is told in a recent TV show named Waking the Baby Mammoth. So you can see that in my example, I've changed the sentence order around. Rather than beginning with the TV show, I'm ending with it, and I've just flipped around the information. And I've also used synonyms. So going from single accidental discovery to chance discovery. Right, next method, are you ready? So you can also use conjunctions to join similar or related ideas. What are conjunctions? Well, those are your fanboy words. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. It's actually really good to do this because it shows that you're grouping together similar ideas, which is something that CIE do look for. So perhaps there might be an idea in the first paragraph of the article and in the last one, but you think that they're really similar, well, you can join those together using a conjunction. So on your worksheet, here is a sentence. Can you have a go at doing it? Only a handful have ever been found before, but none like her. Her name is Ayuba, a 1-month-old baby mammoth. Can you join together these sentences using a conjunction? Pause the video now and have a go. And here is my example. Her name is Ayuba and she is a 1-month-old baby mammoth. So I've joined together those sentences using a conjunction. Next, kind of similar, just to shake it up a little bit, if you're confident with using semicolons, well, why not join together 2 points using a semicolon? So you can use a semicolon to join similar or related ideas. The cheat way that I was taught of remembering how to use a semicolon is basically if you take 2 sentences and they could be joined with the words because or therefore, then all you need to do is delete because or delete therefore, and in the place of that, put a semicolon. Let me find my pen and give an example. Let me give an example. So if we were to say the cat is hungry because no one fed her. Here we could delete the because, right? And in its place put a semicolon. So that joins together those 2 related sentences. And do just notice that when you join together 2 sentences with a semicolon, because you're turning it into 1 sentence, it does not need a capital letter, right? So no capital letter here. So anyway, here once again is your sentence from the extract. Can you try to join some of these ideas together using a semicolon? Too often with such findings, the preserved creature would be dug up and sold. However, the herder had enough foresight to contact the authorities. Pause the video now and have a go at doing that on your worksheet. The next method of paraphrasing is to turn active voice into passive voice, or the other way around, you could turn passive voice into active voice too. Maybe you're wondering what that means. Active voice is basically when you say that the subject is doing something to the object. So for example, Olivia throws the ball. Here we have got Olivia, who is the subject. What is she doing? She's throwing. And what is she throwing? The ball, which is the object. But you could turn that into passive voice by simply saying the ball is thrown by Olivia. And here what you do is you take the object and you put it at the start of the sentence, followed by the verb, and then the preposition by the subject. So the apple is eaten by Sarah. Sarah eats the apple. Here is a sentence from the extract. Can you try to turn this active voice into passive voice? We are presented with stunning 3D animations of Ayuba and her mother. Pause the video now and try to do this one for me on your worksheet. Here is the example. Stunning 3D animations of Ayuba and her mother have been presented to us. So in the sentence, the subject was we, right? And the object is the 3D animations of Ayuba and her mother. So we're putting that at the start, the object. Stunning 3D animations of Ayuba and her mother, our object, have been presented to us. To us, the subject, right? But now we're at the end of the sentence. So that would be the correct way of doing that. And finally, not so much a paraphrasing method, but I guess a way of rewriting. When you're rewriting the text, you need to make sure that you're using connecting words to join your new ideas together so that it reads more naturally. What are connecting words? Well, here are some examples. Furthermore, moreover, not only this, but additionally, finally. Maybe you might want to stop and have a little think about what other connecting words you know that you're going to try to use in your summary. Next, we're moving on to the next section of our lesson, which is all about grouping similar ideas together. For an A-star answer, what CIE are really looking for is that you're thinking about what order you're going to rewrite your summary in. So you shouldn't just be doing it in a linear from start to finish order, right? So you're not just rewriting the article but in the same order. You should actually be taking different ideas from all around the text and putting points that flow nicely together in the same paragraph or one sentence after the other, or joining those similar ideas up with conjunctions, so that when you read it, it's a retelling, but it's not like directly copying from the article. So if you go back onto your worksheet on the first page where you wrote down the different points, I want you guys to have a think about which points would you join together? Which points do you think flow naturally from one to the other? So you could like draw a little square around the ones that you think are similar in each bit, or maybe number them in the order you would want to talk about them. Have a pause now, go back to that worksheet and think about what order am I going to group these different ideas in, and then we'll come back and discuss. Let's have a look at the first one together. So I'm going to have a think now about which points do I think are kind of similar or would sound right in the same sentence or directly after one another. What order am I going to put them in? So perhaps I might put the discovered by accident, and let me just find where my pen is on the screen. Hello, where are you? Oh, she's all the way over here. Okay. So the fact that she's discovered by accident, I think, is quite similar to the man who found her did not disturb her remains, because that's all about how she was found. So I'd put those 2 points together. The fact that she had remained frozen for so long, well, that's really, really similar to that she's the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth to ever be discovered, right? The reason why she's the most perfectly preserved woolly mammoth ever discovered is because she was frozen for so long. So I definitely think I would group those ones together. And then perhaps finally I would go for only a handful of woolly mammoths have ever been found, and maybe that's why scientists were so careful not to disturb her. So you're really thinking about which points are similar, which ones are you going to talk about first, are there any that you're going to join up into the same sentence? So my tips for summary writing, if I had to summarise and distill it into like the key things that you need to remember, I would say these 4 points are the most important. When you're paraphrasing, really make sure that you don't change the meaning. This is because you get marked on content points. So if you change the meaning, you're going to lose the content point and therefore get a lower mark. Remember, avoid using synonyms on nouns. Keep nouns the same. If in doubt, just change around the sentence order and leave the words alone. Avoid repeating. The point of a summary is to be concise, it's to be short, it's to be straight to the point. So don't keep repeating the same point. Go back over at the end and check that you've not repeated anything, and you can always scribble it out if you think that it's too similar to a point that you've already made. Group similar ideas together. So think about which ideas belong in the same sentence as each other, which ideas belong in the same paragraph as each other even. And finally, sentence order. If you're not sure how to rephrase and you find this really difficult, keep the nouns the same and just change the sentence order around. Take your points and run away from the question. Over to you now. I want you to have a go at writing your own summary for this same question. You've had lots of help, so hopefully it should be easy enough. But if you're still finding this hard, then you might want to keep watching the video where I'm going to go over my example summary. If you think you know what you're doing though, write your summary first and then watch the example afterwards so that I don't influence you too much, because it's really good for you to try to do this as independently as possible. Remember that you should write no introduction or conclusion, just directly answer the question. Give yourself around 10 to 15 minutes on this question. Under normal circumstances, yes, 15, but today you already know all of the answers. You hopefully already know your grouping. So it shouldn't really take you any longer than 10 minutes. When you're doing this, make sure you're focusing on your paraphrasing, using synonyms and grouping together similar ideas. So over to you now. Pause the video. There's a space on the last page of the worksheet. Go ahead and write your summary. Welcome back, and I hope that your summary writing went well. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at an exemplar summary that I wrote. As you have a look at this exemplar, have a think, how similar is it to the one that you wrote? Are there any things that we both did the same? Is there anything that I did differently? And why? So here is my exemplar and let's have a read of it together. Layuba was a remarkable scientific specimen, as very few woolly mammoths have ever been discovered, and none ever as perfectly preserved as her due to her having remained frozen for a long time. Furthermore, Layuba was accidentally discovered, and the herder who located her did not interfere with her body. This enabled scientists to recover her without causing damage. Scientists hope to develop a greater knowledge of woolly mammoths, as well as learn more about life in the Pleistocene era. Discovering how Layuba died and what location she came from is also desirable. Finally, it is also hoped that we can research her DNA and gain further insight into climate change. There is also a copy of this exemplar on your worksheet, I should say. Now what I want you to do is, on the worksheet, can you guys tick where the content points are? So where am I actually hitting the mark scheme? Where am I writing down those 12 points? Can you highlight any synonyms that I have used? And can you underline any sentence order changes? So pause the video now and analyse my exemplar. Alright, so hopefully you found the content points. Here they are on the screen, and you can see that I covered all 6. However, in a real exam, you're probably not going to get all 6 for each section. So don't panic too much about that. I think as long as you're getting 4 to 5 for each part of the question, that's a good amount to aim for, and it shouldn't limit you too much. What I want you to do now is to go back to your own summary and mark it. So can you tick where you got the content points? Make sure you check the mark scheme. Can you underline any sentence changes? So where have you changed the order of the original sentence in the article? Can you circle any synonyms that you used? Did you keep the meaning the same? Did you accidentally change a noun? If so, make sure you go back and change it back. Can you highlight your connecting words? Where did you use words like furthermore, moreover, additionally? Can you put a star next to your best grouped ideas? So pick your sentence which you think flows the best and put a little star next to it. Give yourself a pat on the back. And did you remember to use 2 separate paragraphs? If you haven't, then you can just write dash dash to symbolise a new paragraph break. Finally, on the worksheet there is a section for you to have a reflection about what went well and what you will do to improve next time. For more videos like this, please do subscribe to my channel or join my course. Head on over to wowenglish.co.uk for more video lessons and tutorials. Until next time, bye!